Hello and welcome to France in Focus. Our look at the stories hitting the headlines around the country this week. In today's show, we'll bring you a special report from Calais, where tensions are nearing boiling point between desperate migrants and exasperated locals. Also, as France seeks to modernise its economy, we look at the impact defence cuts could have on one town set to lose a whole artillery next year. And have you ever wondered why it's so expensive to drive on French motorways? Maybe you've paid high road tolls over here on holiday. We'll be asking how French motorways became just so pricey. First, Calais is in crisis. For years, illegal immigrants have homed in on the French port city, hoping to cross to the UK. But recent months have seen a rising number. And ever since makeshift camps were cleared out in the surrounding countryside, thousands of migrants have gathered in Calais town centre. Tensions with local people are on the rise, sometimes spilling over into violence. Take a look.
Hundreds of migrants come to Europe hoping to get to Britain and find themselves stuck in Calais. The northern French town has long been trapped between the desperation of the migrants and the growing exasperation of local residents. But soaring numbers this year have strained relations to breaking point. This incident was captured by cameras in a quiet bar. The owner shows us what happened. It's an average day. A migrant sits at the bar and orders a coffee. Even though she knows it's illegal to do so, the waitress refuses to serve him.
He didn't smell great and the other customers kept looking at him. So I did what I often do and offered him a takeaway. He just looked at me and told me he would throw it in my face.
The man pays for his coffee. He waits a moment, then picks up the cup and throws it in the direction of the waitress. He then grabs a tray of cups and swipes it onto the floor. The police show up shortly after and arrest him. According to the bar owner, this scene is not uncommon.
Not a day goes by without us having to call the police, maybe 5 or 6 times a day for this kind of thing. It's going to be the death of our business because customers won't come when the migrants are here.
The owner thinks he's found a solution.
This is tear gas, the real stuff.
Tear gas, a taser, and in the cupboard, a shotgun.
Do you maybe think that shooting at people isn't always the answer?
I know there could be dramatic consequences for me. I realise that something could go wrong, but it's a risk I'm willing to take.
Just metres from the bar, the number of migrants has visibly grown in recent weeks. Jumping the barriers at the port is becoming increasingly difficult, so the migrants have started to accumulate in the centre of Calais. Local soup kitchens say they've never been so busy. They're serving almost 900 people every evening in an atmosphere that is growing more tense by the day.
Police every day throw you out. You sleep in the streets, under the water, under the train. You know, it's very bad.
Do you regret you came here?
Yeah. But I can't go back.
Local charities say they're increasingly unable to cope.
We're reaching the limits of what we're able to do, and we can see that the slightest spark, the smallest incident could set off violence. Perhaps not intentional violence, but things could get very difficult.
At this supermarket, they already have. A group of West Africans have set up a makeshift camp behind the shop, but they say they've been banned from going in. Management denies that, but a security guard who didn't think he was being filmed told a different story.
Basically, they were banned from the shop because they wouldn't stop stealing. We'd had enough.
Did management ask you to ban them?
Yes.
What did they steal?
Alcohol. If it were food, we wouldn't say much, but it was booze, champagne, rosé, beer.
Migrants have already become a target for some. These showers, run by a Catholic NGO, have been set on fire twice in 3 weeks. In September, this ordinary red brick house was attacked with Molotov cocktails in the middle of the night. The Egyptian migrants squatting in the building explain what happened.
A whole camp caught fire and my foot was burnt. A group of us tried to follow them down the street, but one of my friends was run over by a car.
Inside, around 40 migrants live on mattresses on the floor. Those injured in the attack are recovering, with some saying they're too afraid to go out.
Before, the French used to help us. They were good to us, but now we're afraid to live here. There are too many racists outside.
A group of young men were arrested for the attack and sentenced to between 6 months and a year in jail. They said they wanted revenge for a stolen mobile phone. At Brigitte Lips's house, there are dozens of phones plugged into every socket. She runs a system for the migrants to recharge them.
I have them all over the house, I'll show you.
They're in the garage, the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom. For the many migrants passing through, her service is invaluable, and so is a rare friendly face.
No ticket.
27.
Yes, no ticket, no.
No mobile. She's our mother, you know. If we don't get charged, how we can get our family? They hate us, you know, just like criminal, just terrorists. But we are not criminal. We are not terrorists. Good. We are kind people, you know. Just we want to go England.
You know.
I know.
Mommy.
Brigitte says she can't accept the comments she hears from others in the town.
I argued with a young girl who said migrants were polluting our town. I said it's shameful to say things like that. And what's worse, you're young. It's all the young people.
See you later.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All this to somehow get onto a ferry heading for England. That's the aim of a journey that often takes years, in search of a better life the migrants believe they can find on the other side of the Channel.
France is striving to cut its massive public debt, which stands at more than €2 trillion, 95% of GDP. The government is bringing in budget cuts, including in defence. 34,000 army jobs are to be cut starting from next year. And that is going to mean huge upheaval in some French towns. This report now from Calais, a town which is losing an artillery regiment.
Closing its doors. By next summer, almost 1,000 soldiers will have left this army base in Calais for good. Along the high street, doors are also closing. Businesses are being sold off. The army base contributed €15 million a year to a local economy already hit hard by the financial crisis. In this bakery, soldiers and their families represented approximately 3,000 customers.
With the factories that closed before and now with the army leaving, we're starting to get worried.
In this creche, 1 in 3 children come from army families.
There will be fewer creches, fewer schools. It will affect all sectors in the town.
The government is offering compensation, but for many, government handouts aren't the solution.
What we want is economic activity, employment. Not just a cheque saying we'll give you 5 million and shut up. It's not what we're looking for.
With plans to cut 7,500 more military jobs next year and 34,000 before 2019, many more towns like Calais will find themselves on the front line of austerity measures.
Now, if you've ever used the roads here in France, you've probably been driven crazy by the price of it. French motorway tolls are among the most expensive in Europe, with private companies raking off profits of more than 20%. Ecology Minister Ségolène Royal says she wants to cut costs and even make motorways free on weekends, although that's already been ruled out. Reforming motorway payments is gearing up to be a tough task, given the history of the system.
Each time a new barrier pops up, it's a jackpot for motorway companies. For each toll ticket, they pocket a net margin of more than 20%. This adds up to some €2 billion a year. A good deal at their end, but much less so for motorists.
Tolls have become very expensive. If you compare their rate of increase to the cost of living, there's a dramatic difference.
France and Spain have the most expensive motorways in Europe. In other countries such as Hungary, Bulgaria and Slovakia, road users put a sticker in their window to show they've paid for the year. An annual price, for example, of around €30 in Switzerland and €80 in Austria. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, Belgium, the Netherlands, Sweden and Germany, road tolls are rare. At the root of France's rocketing rates, the privatisation of its roads. This was brought in by the left in 2002 and carried out 4 years later by the right. The state handed over 9,000 kilometres of motorways for a limited period for a price of $15 billion in a bid to reduce the country's debt. Since then, toll prices have continuously crept up. Now the ecology minister is looking for ways to tap into the company's profits. However, taxing these companies is no easy job. They're protected by contracts signed at the time, well negotiated to their interests. Article 32 in this one, if the state were to impose a tax on the company, compensation would have to be considered, and this could even be compensation with interest. For the Prime Minister that oversaw the privatisation, it was a success.
Some give and take is needed to get anywhere. My objective was clear and precise, and the contract has been completed. I'll say it again, 600,000 jobs have been created, 20 billion put towards the public deficit.
Privatisation has brought an advantage to the roads when it comes to the quality of infrastructure. According to a recent study, France has the safest motorways in Europe. German roads ranked far behind. Berlin's set to introduce a payment system in January 2016.
Finally, just time before we go to bring you a sneak preview of a dazzling new art space about to be opened here in Paris. It's in the famous Bois de Boulogne Park. It's the Louis Vuitton Foundation, designed by the renowned American architect Frank Gehry, the man also behind the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. The new foundation here is a contemporary art museum showcasing 20th and 21st century works. It's a huge space with 11 galleries covering nearly 12,000 square metres. Well, that's it for this week's France in Focus. See you next time. Bye-bye.